everyone, and welcome to our third annual Autism Hope Summit. We have a real treat today. We have Elizabeth Plourde, who's going to be talking about common environmental toxins that aggravate autism symptoms. Now, many of us, what she's going to be talking about, we have in all of our homes, and we probably don't even think about. So this is going to be a real treat for all of you guys. So sit back and enjoy. Welcome, Elizabeth. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. The hardest part about being a medical researcher for 30 years is knowing the whole world doesn't know what I've uncovered and realize it's horrifying for humanity.
And well, last year we had you at the summit, and I mean, I learned so much, and it really makes me think about everything that's in my home, and it really makes you rethink about how we're just living as a culture. So I know today so many families that are watching are going to learn so much because your information is so invaluable. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be here with us.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, I know that, before we get started, we're going to talk about environmental toxics that you've researched, that you've seen increase autistic behaviors. And I know one of the things we're going to be talking about is EMFs. And so I know last year I had no clue what you meant by that. Today it's something that's part of my vocabulary. So I'm excited for those that, we really just don't know. We don't really consider this a toxin. And I think that's what the issue is. That's
very true. It was brought out and became ubiquitous without any warning, without the warning labels. And we're all suffering, the whole world's suffering. I consult, and I'm consulting all over the world because people are sick all over the world. And our artistic kids have a harder time with it. And yet they can't tell you, gee, I'm feeling that cell phone, or I'm feeling that Wi-Fi. That Wi-Fi business is making me feel terrible. So it's really important for parents to be aware of it. We were on a plane, and it was a nonverbal, about a 9-year-old boy in front of us. And when I could feel the pressure on my body, because even though I'm electromagnetic sensitive, but I still feel it when it's really strong, and I could feel it in my body. And this little boy was trying to strike out and trying to yell. So I told his father, I said, he's reacting to the electromagnetic radiation that's coming so strong in this plane. So it's good to know, for parents to be aware that that could be why they're acting out.
Now, before we get into this big topic, why are you so passionate about what you do?
I'm electromagnetic sensitive. I became to the point I couldn't be in society anymore. I literally became a hermit in my backyard because I would feel myself on like a knife. So 100 people in a room, I'd have 100 sharp knives in my body, and had a rash head to toe. Couldn't use a cell phone or computer without itchy bloody sores erupting within seconds of turning the phone on. So I had to find out the answer for me as to how to live comfortably with all this radiation. And I also know that my sensitivity was because I was poisoned acutely by a dentist with mercury. So mercury is definitely part of the puzzle. When I was so acutely poisoned, my grandson, he's now 17, but at the time he was only about 8. And then the pediatrician's office, because he's got autism, been diagnosed with Asperger's really, so he's verbal and high functioning. But I had 50% of the symptoms he had within a day of being poisoned with mercury.
Wow.
50%. I mean, it was just so dramatic. It helped me understand my grandson so much more, that mercury is definitely part of the problem. It really is. So, and in trying to help him and trying to help myself, and then I'm a hormone specialist. I'm a menopause practitioner, and realized I had to be a hormone specialist in order to help unravel all this and put it all together. And so that specialty helped me understand this, and it helped me create a book about EMF, because we really need to understand how these EMFs are causing all these problems to us in every cell of our body. And then being a scuba diver 50 years ago. I got to see the gorgeous coral and then saw them die. And when I investigated why they were dying, they were trying to say, well, it's global warming, but the oceans I was swimming in were colder than they'd been in 40 years. So I knew it wasn't global warming. So I investigated, found out it was sunscreens. And then when I started investigating what sunscreens do, they're very hormonally active and they're very sharp little metals. And so they are causing problems. So in both my sunscreen book and my electromagnetic radiation book, I've got how autism is connected to both of these. So, and then my grandson's now 17 and he's still struggling. He really is, very badly.
And I think that people don't understand, where do we even find, I mean, obviously you talked a little bit about iPads and such. Where are EMFs?
Everywhere. Everywhere. They are virtually everywhere. And I did find a place down at the beach. I did find a product that I wear that helps me be in public and be around computers and to work again. Before I found this, though, the only place I was comfortable was a place on a remote beachhead that was a half a mile from any building. So you were a half a mile from any smart meters and people. And I would go and sit there or lay down there, ground there, and that's where I would feel calm. That's where my body would swell up like a balloon. And I'd go there, and in 30 minutes, it'd be back down to normal size, just laying on the ground there.
Wow.
So, and I was there one time, and there was a young man there in his 20s, and he told me, he said, I choose this spot because this is where I feel best. So he knew it, but he didn't know why. So it's everywhere. You can't go into any building. They're all Wi-Fi'd. You know, try to ride a plane. Now they have the ability to do computers and cell phones on the plane. We are helping a lot of flight attendants and pilots to be able to survive their jobs because there's so much radiation and it bounces around inside the plane. The radiations bounce around, so it makes it even worse inside there. So it's
wow.
There is nowhere to go.
It really is. It's almost as though you need to put like a cocoon around you and walk around and just kind of look out the little people. Now, the necklace that you wear, can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's called a biodot, and it has the frequency that is your strong frequency. So it's Phi, PHI, it's 1.618, and wearing this helps your Phi come up to its strength. And in 2 days, I could go back out in public, and I hadn't been in public in months because I was no longer feeling the knives in my body. And then I could get back onto the cell phones and onto the computer and back to work because I hadn't been able to work.
Wow. And you can sleep in that? You can take a shower in it?
Right. That's true. And you can wear it on an airplane. It doesn't matter going through the x-ray machines or anything like that. In fact, we want it around people 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Because it helps, it sounds as though it helps neutralize and balance them.
Absolutely. That's what it does. It balances and grounds and harmonizes. They're called harmonizers.
Even for our cell phones, because I know you can't see it on here, but it is on my phone from you guys. There's two, I have a case covering it, but there are two dots. If I can get this case off, I'll show you guys. But there's two dots on the back of my phone. And can we talk a little bit about that prior to talking about, I think this is important for them to
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about the cell phones and why it's important to have these little dots behind the cell phones, right?
Well, especially if they've gotten...
Everybody to see. So these two dots right here.
Well, they're kind of, if you kind of tilt it back, I mean, yeah, right, that helps. Yeah, now you can see them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys can see these two dots that are right here. These are,
Right, yeah.
this is what Elizabeth and her company sell. These are the one I trust. And so, and can we explain why we want to put this on our cell phones?
It changes it. It's called a harmonizer. And so what it does is it alters the radiation coming off the phone to be Phi, to be our human energy. And so it makes it less toxic to who's ever using it.
And I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't really have their phones anymore. It's just kind of
Absolutely.
life. So if we have to have our phones, this is, to me, it was easy. It was like, okay, I just put this on there. You know, obviously it doesn't make it perfect, but I know that it's doing something to help. So it was an easy, you know, decision for me.
It really does, yeah. And so they're sold in packs like this.
Okay.
So and then you just
there you go.
take it off and just peel the paper off and then stick them on your phones.
Yeah. So now let's jump in. So now that we understand like some of the, you know, what an EMF, what EMFs are, and these, you know, part of the solution, these dots. Can we talk about, you know, what is increasing this autistic behavior for some of these children? We know EMFs are doing that, but what does that really look like? You gave an example of the child on the airplane, but can we kind of go more into depth about that?
Well, these EMFs are oxidizing our whole body. So if you think about rust on metal, that is oxidation, and our entire body is being oxidized by the EMF. That's happening inside our body at every cell, our eyes, our ears, everywhere, our brain. And it alters our neurotransmitters. Our calming neurotransmitter, our gamma aminobutyric acid, that we need in order to stay calm, that the cells that are making that in our brain are being destroyed. So we no longer have this calming neurotransmitter. And that's part of the problem, is these kids just, it's not there, it's non-existent. And that's a problem for adults too. I mean, we've got the road rage and we've got these shootings, and it really is, we are no longer calm human beings. We're not, because our neurotransmitters are so disrupted, and it also disrupts all our hormones. So we lose our progesterone, we lose our testosterone, and so this is part of the problem too. So our natural biochemistry is so disrupted that we're no longer functioning the same as we were, and so that's the main problem.
It's not as though the world's going to get less toxic. The world's going to continue. I mean, I wish it would, but I just, being realistic, I don't see that being the case. I feel like as though it's going to continue to get more and more toxic. And so as individuals, we really do have to find ways that continue to help us stay as healthy as we can. And I remember when I first heard about, you know, I remember seeing dots similar to this and years ago. And I didn't really know what it was. I think at the time somebody had explained to me that, you know, the pagers at one point for the doctors, and I don't remember who told me this actually. I remember that years ago I'd heard doctors getting some type of cancer, you know, from their pagers, I want to say. And then somebody said, oh, well, you know, holding up the phone to your ear like this all the time is, you know, literally just putting this radiation in, and you can get brain cancer. They were saying all this different stuff. And I didn't know what was true or what wasn't true. All I knew, and I'm sure there was a lot of people watching feeling the same as I was, I just thought, okay, it wasn't a huge investment on my end. Even if there was a 10% chance that it worked, I was going to buy it, right? And then I met you guys, and you're like, oh, no, but these ones are a little different than this one, and that one's a little different than this. Here's how I look at it for everybody watching. Anybody, and I say this wholeheartedly, that have invested as much time as Elizabeth and her husband into this cause, and they eat, breathe, and sleep this, there is no way that I'm going to trust anybody else when I go to the mall in one of those little stands, because if you ask them what it is, they don't have a clue, right? And yet this has been your life's work. So for me, it was a really easy, like, all right, I don't understand all the ins and outs of it. It's not a huge investment on my part. Of course, I'm going to do this to make my phone safe, because I really don't like keeping it up to my ear even now, knowing that it's not a good thing. You will never see me, and I'll go on record for this, I've never bought one of those Bluetooth things for my ear, because I've always been so nervous. And the reason was because of those years past hearing about the doctors just in the pagers. Right. When I see people have those Bluetooths and they walk around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I swear I think these people probably sleep and shower with them in their ears. That cannot be good. I maybe I'm wrong, but I've had the same feeling I have about microwaves as the same feeling I have about these Bluetooths in your ears. I just can't imagine how that can be good, and it's so close to, like, you know, so many different parts of your membranes, and I don't know, I don't think it's a good thing. What's your thoughts on that?
I totally agree. I really do. The oncologists that we've talked to say they see patients with a tumor, brain tumor the shape of their cell phone, brain tumor the shape of
Wow.
the Bluetooth. Absolutely, they do. There's no doubt about it. And our teenagers are getting brain tumors because they're sleeping with their phones. And brain tumor at 17 is just crazy. Our 15-year-old girls are getting breast cancer because they're carrying them in their bras, and the breast cancer matches exactly the antenna on the phone that they had stuffed in there. So
Well, I know people put their phones under their pillow, I know people that put their phone under their pillow. That's their alarm clock. That's how they wake up. Like, after I met you, my phone was always really close to me. But once I met you, I think it was about a year and a half ago or so, my phone is across the room now at night. And I don't even have it near my head. And because, again, guys, even if you think, okay, this is kind of a little out there, because I remember thinking that too. When you start reading this stuff, I'm telling you that everything makes sense. And a lot of times, and I can only speak about me, a lot of times you read something, you go, yeah, that makes sense, but gosh, that's a lot of work. I don't know. That just seems like something I don't really want to do. And gosh, everybody has a phone. If it was that bad, why don't they automatically put the sticker thing inside of it? Why don't they automatically have an anti-radiation thing on X, Y, and Z? Here's the thing, guys, they don't. I don't know why they don't, but they don't. And so if you meet somebody like Elizabeth and her husband, I'm telling you, your whole mind will just go, because it is just something that makes so much sense, and yet we don't want to do it. But nobody's going to dedicate their life in the way that you guys have, unless, in my mind, you guys found a solution. It doesn't make it perfect by any means, because obviously that we're going to constantly have all this radiation. But if we can take that toxic overload of our buckets and we can at least help our kids are already about here. We don't want to keep adding more and more. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. And because I really want people to listen to what you're going to say and understand that this is such an important topic, and it's not like, people always ask me, like, do you sing Kumbaya, Kristen? And do you not shave your legs, and do you sit in a circle and, chant? No, I don't. I truly feel like this is really where mainstream needs to be. So with that, I know you have a PowerPoint, and I would love for you to kind of show some of your slides.
Well, and there's a lot of things that you brought up that I'm anxious to share, but they're through the slides too. So
okay. I hope what I said made sense.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So I think that's it, right? Can you see it?
Yes, I can. Almost. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So anyway, I've done a lot of research. I've been researching for 30 years. I've written these books, and they came out of my experiences. One is to try to save the oceans, because the sunscreens are killing the coral and the fish and the phytoplankton. And then I realized they're connected to autism also, which just really shocked me as I was doing the research. I am a clinical laboratory scientist, so I am very grateful I can look at all of it from the biochemical point of view, what's happening at the level of the cell. And so these books about our toxins on the sunscreens and the EMF really come from a biochemical point of view. And as I looked at what the EMF is doing, I became aware of it because I'm a menopause practitioner, and I heard from all these women in the San Francisco Bay Area about 8 years ago saying, I've got these headaches, I can't sleep, I'm so tired, I'm so irritable. And I have a 6-page profile I have them fill out. And when I was looking at it, I realized they weren't menopausal. And so my research brain said, what's this going, why San Francisco? The bottom line was that it was their smart meter going on their home within months or weeks of these symptoms. And San Francisco got them well before Southern California, which is where I live. And when I started investigating what do these radiations do, I was horrified. And that's why it became another book, because it is harming every part of our body. Definitely harming fetal development, definitely harming sperm and eggs. There's just no 2 ways around it. And then harming the development of the fetus as it's growing. So I just get horrified when I see women, you know, holding their cell phone. Where is it when it's at arms, you know, at their arm, it's in their hand, it's right next to their belly while their fetus is developing. So we're really causing a lot of problems, and autism is one of them. So that's how I got into this. And okay, so oops, my
He's great.
my wow.
I think
Oh, there it
maybe
goes.
you just,
Okay, so what I realized is that these electromagnetic radiations are really harming us, and I am a canary. It really knocked me down, and we are hearing from the canaries all over the United States, all over the world, who are being knocked down. I just helped a woman in the Caribbean, and I'm going, I know she's on a small island. She's got all that ocean, all that grounding around her, and the ocean waves. And she said, I've been sick ever since the electrical smart meter was put on her home. So even in the Caribbean, where you've got all that grounding, the electrical smart meters are causing problems. They're exact same frequency as a microwave oven, and they're pulsing multiple times a minute, 24 hours a day. So we canaries and our autistic children are our canaries, because they're saying this is toxic. And the canaries work because in the coal mines, if they ran out of air or toxic air came in, the canaries would either fall over or die, and they knew to get out of the coal mines. Well, we, your children, and I, those of us who are canaries on this, are saying, this is bad, we need to stop this. We really do. So this is the electromagnetic spectrum. I like to show it because we were, does that work on you? Can you see my marker? Yeah, okay. So this is household electricity way down here, and this is what we've started using, but this was already causing cancers. We've already determined that. Cancer started rising ever since they electrified America. And then as we added radio and TV, we came up this electromagnetic spectrum. And then radar, 1 to 100 gigahertz, we are now in the radar range. Our Wi-Fi's are now in this radar range. And our phones are in the radar range. Our smart meters are 2.4 gigahertz. They're in the radar range. So we are being blasted with radar radiation 24 hours a day, no matter where we go. And we have studies, sailors 30 years ago showed us the harm that the radar was on the ships at sea. They would get sick from the radar at sea. So, and then we go on up to ionizing radiation, which is the nuclear. And we know to stay away from that. We know to cover up with a lead apron in the dental chair for an x-ray. But the problem is that all of these are non-ionizing radiations. They cause just as much damage, and they cause it earlier at a lower level, so it's not as detectable, but it's causing the damage just the same. So
scary.
Yes,
That's our
it
whole
is.
world, right?
So what's happening is that these radiations are putting holes in every cell membrane. So our cells, our brain, our gut are like sieves. Instead of being protective barriers, they're allowing all these toxins in. They're allowing in the pesticides and the plastics and the sunscreens and the fragrances. The fragrances are toxic today.
When you talk about fragrance, maybe elaborate a little bit on that for the moms listening.
The fragrance, ever since I was poisoned with the mercury, when we came home, we opened the garage door, I could smell every cleaner in the house, even 4 rooms away, even though I'd lived in the house for 20 years. And I had to tell my husband, I was so sick, I had to tell my husband, get the house, get everything out of here. I can't tolerate it. But I also can't tolerate perfumes. And the perfumes are made out of synthetic musks now. And the synthetic, I react to everything that's toxic, and the synthetic musks are toxic. They actually cause cancer. And so women are buying them, putting them on their body, and they get breast cancer and don't understand it. These things are being sold without warning labels. Plus the scents in the rooms, those are causing problems. And I have to leave rooms. I have to leave rooms when women walk in with perfume because I still get sick from it. And so our kids can't say that. You know, grandma walks in with perfume, and then the kid starts acting up, it's because that perfume is bothering him, or starts.
What about essential oils? We use a lot of essential oils in our home. I use essential oils. I use a diffuser with essential oils. What's your take on that as a replacement for some of the fragrances that are out there?
As long as they're pure and you know their source. I can't be around essential oils either. They really bother me. So I just stay away from anything that's got a perfume or any type of a scent to it. I have a hard time because I have to have fragrance-free laundry soaps and dryer sheets, although I rarely use my dryer anymore. I just put everything outside. So it's really important to reduce this because those are toxic. The dryer sheets are toxic. Those toxic chemicals get inside the cells because with this slide, we're getting holes in all of our protective barriers, and so then those toxins can get inside the cells, and that's what's creating so many problems today and leak into the brain. So this, I don't know if you can see it very well, but this is a normal rat brain, and this is a rat that was exposed 1 2-hour exposure to one mobile phone that was way below the power that's allowed by the FCC. It was like 200 milliwatts. The FCC allows 1.6 watts, so way below that power. And all these dark spots is where the brain leaked, holes in the brain, and where it leaked, it killed the brain cells. So this is happening to all of us, actually. And our poor children can't say, gee, my brain doesn't work right. Well, we've got all these holes in it. And this biopsy was 50 days after the exposure, which means that it did not repair.
Wow, that's scary.
It is. It really is. And this is what your normal red blood cell should look like. This shape, it allows it to deliver the maximum amount of oxygen. And this is what happens to your blood. This person came in off the street, and you can see the blood cells kind of sticking together. This is him on his phone for an hour. See how all these are it's called rouleau, all stick together. These cannot deliver oxygen. So this is one of the reasons for the cancer, because our tissues aren't getting the proper amount of oxygen. This is the headaches. And then our dots that you showed so well on the phone. This is the same person, his same cell phone, on it for an hour, and how much better his blood looks. So this is how well our products work and why headaches go away. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've gotten. I get a headache every time I get on my cell phone, and that's what this is. This is the same as a high altitude headache. You go up in altitude, not enough oxygen in the air. So, and I had a very interesting experience. About 10 years ago, I was asked to speak at a menopause seminar, a day seminar in Colorado Springs. And Colorado Springs is very high. It's about 9,000 feet, somewhere up in there, 7,000 to 9,000. And when I got there, I couldn't breathe. I could not get enough air. And I was just gasping for air. I was told, chew on ice, that'll release the oxygen faster for you. And I just had a terrible night, and I was being filmed for TV on this seminar, and I'm going, how am I going to do this? But I did get through it. So we did 2 seminars in Colorado Springs this last summer. And so I bought all these oxygen bottles. I thought, I don't want to go through that again. I'll just get all this oxygen so that I don't do that. And I had no problem. I was not gasping for air or oxygen because I've been wearing this. So I realized that long ago, I was reacting to the electromagnetic radiation. My blood was doing this rouleauing, and I wasn't getting enough oxygen, and that's why the reduced amount up at that level bothered me so much. And this last summer, I was fine, absolutely fine. So.
Wow. That's really a huge visual. Everybody watching and looking at that, I mean, I really want you guys to realize that you know, the different cluster when you're holding your cell phone, and that's something that I don't know anybody that doesn't do on a daily basis. So
that's very true. It really is. I just sometimes my husband has to say, okay, just don't say anything when we go out and I see all these people and I see these kids on the phone and their iPads, and I just it's hard for me to keep quiet because being a medical researcher and writing all these books, I want the whole world to know what I find out. You know, I want the whole world to know now. So thank you so much for this opportunity, because it's really simple. It really is. It's just awareness. So one of the reasons I put this slide in is that the electromagnetic radiation is destroying our immune system. And so our immune system is no longer balanced. It can no longer protect. And plus we've got these holes in our brain. And so bacteria can get inside the brain. And I know that some of the kids are having trouble with that. And electromagnetic radiation is the setup for it. It really is. So, and it also makes you more sensitive to mold and Lyme. And some of these kids are more sensitive. And riding in a car, this is so important. Our car electronics today, all of the Bluetooth and the GPS and the screens on the dash, and just riding next to cars that have all this, it goes out 10 feet. So just driving down the street, our kids are being exposed to all the radiation from all the cars. And it really oxidizes. That oxidation you saw in those red blood cells, that's what's happening when we're just riding in a car. So our cars today are very toxic. We keep our old 2000, and we're now on our 5th engine, and the dealer says, well, isn't it time to get a new car? And we go, no, we'll take our old 2000 because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It doesn't have the sensors in the bumper and in the side to buzz your seat if somebody's next to you. You know, I mean, it's crazy. It really is how much radiation is.
What do we do today for the families that do have those cars? Can we put the little stickers in the cars?
Absolutely. In fact, the last 2 car engines that we got, they had to keep our car for a couple of weeks. And we had a 2017, and I put I put this on the dash, in the center of the dash, and I was fine in there. And then this last time we had a 2018, I had to put one on the dash and one in both doors in order for me to feel comfortable in them, because there's so much radiation. And I have parents tell me their teenagers don't want to ride in the car with them anymore because they feel all this electricity, they just feel so bad from all the radiation that's in our cars. And the smart cars, the hybrids and the electrics, I've been able to identify the extreme sensitivity to electromagnetic radiation begins about a year and a half after people get them, right around in them, because there's so much radiation from the batteries in them. So kids should not be riding in them. And in fact, one of our people that we've talked to, he said he felt like such a good dad because his kids would fall asleep in the backseat of the car. He thought, oh, I'm such a good driver. They're so confident and safe. He finally figured out they were actually passing out from sitting on top of the batteries in the car, in the back.
Oh, my. Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And then the kids saying, I don't want to go riding with you, Mom. I feel sick when I get in the car. So.
I just don't understand why they're not talking about this more. Like, why? And why aren't they making an anti-radiation thing just part of the cell phone or just part of the car? I mean, it seems like such an easy kind of fix, truly. I mean, obviously we have the technology. Why aren't they automatically adding that as a shield? Like, what would it do for them not to do that? I mean, obviously they could just charge us more money, truly, right?
Well, for one thing, they'd be admitting that there's a problem, even though they do say, in the handout with your cell phone, only hold, within so many centimeters of your head. And I don't know that I know of anybody that does that, except for you. But most people don't. They hold it right next to their head. And there are patents, and I know these companies do have patents for some of the things that we have. So they are aware of it, but the one thing they realize is that for them to say, yes, indeed, these things happen, they're liable. And the proof has been there. 30 years ago, when I started doing my medical research, I saw an article that said that a cell phone would cause brain cancer. 30 years ago, it was there. And yet they've gone ahead and create all these. So
it's a shame that we live in a world like this, but I am glad that we have a solution, or somewhat of a solution. Now, sunscreens seem to be something that...
Right, yeah, so the sunscreens, this really surprised me. When I started the book, my husband goes, "Why are you writing a book about sunscreens?" I was writing it because I saw them killing the coral, and I love the coral. And so he says, "But you're a hormone specialist." I didn't know I had to be a hormone specialist in order to write about it, because they're very hormonally active, very anti-testosterone, extremely anti-testosterone. I think it's one of the reasons why there's more boys diagnosed with autism than girls, because there's a definite hormone imbalance. And so that, but then also it's the zinc and titanium oxides that they're saying are safe. And so they're in our makeup, they're in our foundation, our lipstick, they're in shampoo, and being told that they're totally safe. They're not. They are so not safe. And they're in our foods. The titanium dioxide is white, so they put it in white pudding. So you're eating titanium dioxide, so it's whiter. And they're putting it in clothing. They're putting it in sun clothing, beach clothing, which is really a shame, because these little particles, they're 1/5000th of the diameter of human hair. So they're tiny, tiny, tiny. And that means they can get into the body, they can get into the brain. And so at the bottom of this here, our mitochondria are what give us our energy, and they decrease our mitochondria. They harm our DNA and our genes. They cause abnormal cell division, and they cause the cells to die. So, and this is in our children's sunscreen, where we're told, oh, you've got to protect the child. The whole concept is wrong. Melanomas have climbed. This is what melanoma has done since sunscreens were introduced. If indeed it worked, this would not be the case at all. So it's because you sit in the sun many times longer, and it's the UV, you're blocking UV. Yes, you're not going to burn, but it does not block the near-infrared. The near-infrared is almost 50% of the sun's rays that are hitting us. That near-infrared goes deeper into the cells and causes the melanoma. So this is why it's climbing. So you can see the statistics here.
If anyone ever put that graph on the back of a sunscreen bottle, I don't think they would probably sell many sunscreen bottles.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but look at this. 9 out of 100,000 when sunscreens were brought out, 35 out of 100,000 in 2012. I mean, that's rapid growth. So, and here's the problem. Here is ultraviolet is 4%, and that's UVA and UVB, and they tell you, oh, get a broad spectrum, get both of these, and this is how deep those rays go. The UVB is what causes the sunburn right at the top of the skin, and the UVA goes a little deeper. But here's near infrared. 47% of the rays are near infrared. These go much deeper, and this is why they're causing the melanomas and the skin cancers. So the whole concept is wrong. We should have never started using it to begin with. Wow. And the zinc oxide that they say is safe, it goes into the body's tissue. They say, oh, it doesn't absorb. In 24 hours, it's in the liver, kidney, and lungs. In 7 days, liver, kidney, lungs, and brain. And then it keeps increasing in the brain over time. So putting this on our kids today is not good for our kids at all. So the answers are that we do have a lot of things that we can do. And one is to really reduce the exposure to all the electromagnetic radiation. It's very difficult, but the thing you can do in your house is to get all the electronics out of the bedrooms, out of your bedrooms, out of the kids' bedrooms. Go back to a small battery-operated alarm clock instead of having an electrical alarm clock, because anything that's plugged into the wall, you put a meter next to it, the amount of radiation coming off of the cord when it's plugged in is huge. And that radiation is going into us and into the children.
Wow. Now, if you unplug it, does it take radiation?
Yes, if you unplug it, yeah, you're fine. So we just put our alarm clock into our bathroom that's off our bedroom and just put it in there instead of in with us. But some people don't have the ability to do that. That's why we recommend a small battery-operated alarm clock. And so, okay.
So, Elizabeth, would a suggestion potentially be, if for those that can't perhaps take all the electronics out of their room, could they potentially unplug the electronics, especially at night? Also, could they put the dots on their electronics in the home as well to help at least aid
yes,
some
absolutely.
of this?
And unplugging is a great thing to do. We actually turn the circuit breakers off to our bedroom to sleep at night. So we actually just cut the electricity completely. And our house is arranged so that we can do that with no problem. So, but also we got rid of our TV. We really did. I realized that parents would want the TV for their kids, but before I started wearing this, if my husband turned the TV on in the next room, my skin would actually open up in big long lines and bleed, hemorrhage.
Wow.
So it really is affecting us. It's just that you don't feel it. But our kids, it affects them emotionally. It absolutely does. So you can really tell it.
Well, I think this has been so informative, and I know the families watching probably, at least how I felt the first time I talked to you, my brain just kind of, was like all over the place. Like, I can't believe this. And I started looking at different things in the home going, I never even thought about that. Like the refrigerator you were talking about before. Gosh, Elizabeth, I can't believe the hour is almost up. I want to make sure we leave these families with, the next steps to do. What are our action steps? What can we do today?
One of the things is to get out of your smart meter, get the smart meter off your house, because that's causing so much havoc. And so call your utility company, and hopefully you're in a state where you can opt out of the smart meter and get back the old safe analog. Decrease the use of your cell phones, computers, wireless, everywhere you can, and go back to wired everything, wired internet, wired phones. Do not use cordless phones, and then keep the phones away from your body. And we keep a cell phone deliberately that you can get the battery out of so that you can take it out when you're not using it, because it's on all the time. And remove all the electronics out of your sleeping area, your kids' sleeping area. And eat a high antioxidant diet. This is all oxidation damage, and so if you eat a high antioxidant diet, that helps to repair the damage. And then also sleeping grounded. We have grounding mats and sheets that so that you can ground, and that helps repair the body from the damage from the EMF. So I really, the device that we've been talking about, there's a whole bunch of them on the market that don't work. The ones that we use are called harmonizers, and they make the frequency more stable. They're called biodots. You can wear them in different ways. We've already shown you the difference in the phone. And then this is the amount of stress on the body in exposure to a cell phone. This helps me understand why I couldn't even be around a cell phone before I started wearing the biodot. This is the phone on off, and this is on standby, and this is sending and receiving. So I couldn't even be around a cell phone. These are other technologies. This is our old dot that we created 18 years ago, and now this is our new dot down here, how much stress is off the body by using the dot. So I just wanted to get those in. And this slide helps me understand we're not only getting holes in our cells, membranes, we're getting holes in our energy field. This helps me understand why I would feel like my cell phone like a knife and I couldn't go out in public anymore, because it'd go right through those holes. This is 2 days use of our technology, how much more solid and uniform, and in 2 days I could go back out in public and not feel knives. So these things really do work. And these are the smart dots that I had showed you. This is trying to grow grass seeds in a room where there's Wi-Fi. They can't grow. This is away from it. And this is growing with our dot on the Wi-Fi unit, and they can grow right in front of it. So that's how much health this brings. So, and then the grounding mats that we also have for you to sleep on too. So, and we would love people to get our information. The book, absolutely, 400 references proving the damage, and our Congress isn't being told the truth, and that's why this is being allowed. So if we can get these books in the hands of our politicians who are making the decisions to say that this is okay, it's not okay. So do think about getting this to our politicians.
What a wonderful wealth of information here. Can you take it out of the screen share mode for a moment? Oh, there's that information there. Perfect. And this will all also be for everybody. Everybody doesn't have to write this down really fast. This is also going to be in the link in the video, and so you guys will be able to have all of their information as well. Gosh, and if you really like this this presentation, guys, you guys can go to autismhopesummit.com. You can buy this whole package of over 25 top experts in the country. And what is really great about that is that every time you guys buy part of the summit, those dollars go back to the Autism Hope Alliance, and that money goes into a nutritional scholarship fund to help more and more families. And also, Elizabeth was a speaker last year, and we were able to dive into other stuff last year, so that package will also be part of this year's package. So, you know, again, there's so many resources for you guys. This is, as the slide said, one of the tools in the toolbox for the families, and I can't tell you, every time I talk to you, Elizabeth, I learn more and more and more, and I look around the room and I think, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, because it really is an easy thing to do, guys. It's not that there's not a solution for it, it's just that we need to take action to make sure that we can protect our families in the best way we can.
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
Thank you. Yeah, it is very simple. It's just the awareness of realizing that we shouldn't, be near things, and try to live in a home that's not near the power lines. It's not near the smart meter boxes and the cell phone towers. So.
Well, and as families, we constantly think about toxins of whether or not a food we're eating. Most of us are trying to eat as best we can, looking for organics, making sure there's no hormones in our meats, really looking at our cleaners as non-toxins, like making sure the toxins are out of our cleaners. We're looking at our hair products, our makeup. We're doing all of this, looking for the best clean supplements for our children. Yet we overlook this toxic overload that's happening, and it's every single day. And it's something that we have in all of our homes. There's not one of us that don't have majority of this in our homes. So this is something that we really need to open our eyes more about, and really just take the really, I honestly think, very small baby steps of, these dots are a really easy thing to get, guys. And like I said, I can only speak for me, but I absolutely trust Elizabeth and her husband. I mean, these people have dedicated their lives, like I said. You saw the graph. You saw where the other ones were and where they even showed their older product from 18 years ago and where their new product is today. So to me, again, no-brainer. Last message you want to leave to our families that might be brand new on a journey, might be on their journey for some time. What message do you want to leave with them, Elizabeth?
Yeah. I guess to have the awareness that where you go, because on an airplane I watched about an 8-year-old who's nonverbal, and when I could feel the increased EMF, he was acting out. And so getting something on these kids to help them not feel it as much is a big thing. And our 17-year-old, his violent outbursts went down to 2 a month versus every other day by wearing this technology. So it really can help calm our kids down. So, and I'm very glad to be able to get that out there. So thank you.
Well, such a pleasure as always, Elizabeth. And to all of you guys watching, you know what? There's so many different options out there today. There's so much hope for some of these issues that we have. So today I really feel that Elizabeth brought us the solution. Again, such an easy solution for the everyday toxins that we have in our world. So until next time, bye guys.